Wise.
So saith the wise among them.
Welcome back to Mages and Murder Dads, the best show dedicated to the Baldur's Gate franchise. I am Cameron and I play Chikelvar, the sorcerer.
And I am Danny and I play Balthazar, the barbarian.
This is episode 1 of Baldur's Gate 3.
Episode 1 and episode 81 overall, I think.
Episode 81 overall. And I guess we could drill it down to be even more specific, which is like, in just Baldur's Gates, what episode is it? And I don't know.
I don't know either. That's pretty easy because we kind of did all the Baldur's Gate at the front. So you just got to find like the first episode of Planescape Torment.
Well, we went beyond Baldur's Gate for a while.
We did Baldur's Gate and we were like, well, that's done. We're going to be far afield. And was Baldur's Gate 3, I think Baldur's Gate 3 was in fact announced after we had already finished the Baldur's Gate games, right? Easily.
We finished Baldur's Gate with episode 43. So in the Baldur's Gate lineage, this is episode 44. So this is episode 1, episode 81, and episode 44, all somehow. At one time, it was 5 years ago. Let me look up Baldur's Gate 3 announcement. Baldur's Gate 3 announcement.
I'm going to guess 2019.
It's 2019. 2019. The official announcement trailer. So let me do a little mental math. Doodly do. Yes, we had finished Baldur's Gate 2 before a hint of Baldur's Gate 3.
And matter of fact, I remember an interview with Phil Daigle.
Yeah. Oh, you want to talk about some behind the scenes shit?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't feel like it's like there was a short conversation that happened that maybe Baldur's Gate 3 might occur.
And a matter of fact, on that interview, I think Phil asks, like, we kind of brought up, Beamdog, you just did Siege of Dragonspear. This is that was a new Baldur's Gate game when it was released. And we talked about what would Baldur's Gate 3 have to look like if it was released, in a contemporary sense. Like, think about the hype.
I believe he said, what would you want? Didn't you say something like that? Like, what would you want in it?
And we decided Bullet Hell.
I think we did decide Bullet Hell. I think we decided Bullet Hell. I think we decided The Matrix Time Stop. I think we decided a clown in many parts.
Maybe. Yeah, just completely, it's a hidden item game.
Yeah. Kind of like a hidden object game.
Yes, that's right.
You're looking for a Waldo. Some sort of fantasy Waldo. Well, we got it. We got Baldur's Gate 3.
We got Baldur's Gate 3, and we've had a couple of episodes on this channel in this playlist, not official, not numbered episodes, but we've done some stuff. We got preview copies. We played it a little bit. We talked quite a bit about our first impressions of the early access. But we decided, you know what? We wanted the game to come out in its final shape before covering it in Mages and Murder Dads. I'm very glad we did. I'm glad we waited literally until now because it wasn't too long ago that patch 5 came out and just added an epilogue that heretofore was not present.
Yeah, we are recording these in December, January 2023, 2024. That's the zone in which we are trying to record all of these. And yeah, that patch 5, which came out, beginning of December, a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
It just changed the whole ending of the game, which, as we might have expressed before, was kind of like a, qu'est-ce que c'est, productive sneeze. It just wasn't much. It wasn't much of nothing, is what I'm saying.
That final scene in the before patch 5 was I think that you've in Homestuck Made This World, you talk about the deflationary move.
Yeah.
It felt a bit like that.
Mm-hmm. And we'll do some comparison inevitably in 9 months when we actually get there, because you have plotted this out. And maybe you can say a little bit about what the show is, but just to give some numbers, you've plotted this out, and it looks like we're going to take it nearly 20 episodes.
Yeah, I think that
to get through BG3.
If we stay on schedule in terms of the content per episode that I've kind of planned, we'll actually be ending this season on episode 99.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
Think about the pressure. If we do another game, if we did like a Pillars of Eternity or whatever, the first episode of that being episode 100, what pressure on that game?
Yeah, what pressure?
Mm-hmm. In any case, structurally, we have to do this differently. In every game we've done to more or less extent, we've kind of been able to say, okay, we'll play. Cameron, hey, play this level. Or Cameron says, hey, go to this castle, and we both kind of play the castle. Mm-hmm, and then we record an episode about, that's
me all the time. Go to this castle.
Go to this castle. And
go to this castle.
Mm-hmm.
To Diarnis Keep.
Yeah.
Fight them gnolls.
And I'd fight the gnolls, and then we'd talk about the gnolls, and we'd be able, like, at the end of that episode, be like, you want to hit up the weird graveyard? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do it this way. I kind of like in our very earliest conversations about how we were going to do this show, I would say, okay, this is my route. And you just looked at my route, like the order in which I would need to do things as a solo character. And you were like, this doesn't work for me. like I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to take one step backward from what you're saying right now.
Okay.
Which is to say, if you have never listened to Mages and Murder Dads before, there are 80 some odd episodes before this you could go listen to. The general idea, as you were saying, is that we play a chunk and then we talk about it. It's not a let's play. It's more like a let's talk.
Yeah.
More like a podcast where it's a discussion-oriented thing. You're welcome to leave a comment. If you listen to this on YouTube, or if you watch it on YouTube, you will see all kinds of footage of the things that we were talking about that I have to painstakingly edit together. You can also listen to it as a podcast. I think that's available through YouTube Music or whatever the hell it's called right now. I've enabled the podcast feed there. You can also just go down to the description below, get access to an RSS link, and that'll go into any podcast thing. You don't have to play along with us. We talk about the whole thing. But if you have played, you'll get a little bit more stuff. And again, if you watch the video, you'll see all the stuff too. So this can be your one-stop shop for everything you might want to know about the non-academic field of Baldur's Gate 3 play.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be some other thing for you. I'm just giving them that. So
the first comment we get is not, I thought this was going to be a let's play and I was disappointed.
Yeah, please don't leave that comment.
No. I shouldn't be modeling that, should I?
You shouldn't be modeling the bad comment. You're right.
No. In any case, that's what this is. It's a show, not a let's play. And we're going to have to do it differently this time. Basically, Cameron and I have both played Act 1 of this playthrough. And then I have organized the next 6 episodes to talk about the prologue and the various locales and quests and the moving pieces of the way in which the act, I believe, works. We'll see if like that method of coverage works out, but I think that this is it's the kind of the way we had to do things, because the variance of play, the many possibilities of the way an experience of play of Baldur's Gate can like pan out are so different that it was not feasible to do like a session by session or like covering the exact same ground and then us meet after that. So we've both we're going to start this prologue and like we kind of both know how the full act is going to go, but we will constrain as best we can our discussion to kind of what we're covering in that particular episode. And in this first episode, we're going to be talking about character creation, the prologue, the big setup, and we're going to maybe meet a couple of friends. Maybe some companions.
Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. You want to tell us a little bit about what you're up to over there? Because we play these games differently.
Well, we have canonical alter egos.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not, it's not Cameron and
Craig. He's a CPA.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing math all day.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Balthazar the Barbarian is canonically the character that I play, and starting a couple of episodes into the Baldur's Gate 1 playthrough, Balthazar decided to go it alone, and Balthazar is a solo playthrough. And Baldur's Gate 3 will adhere to that. Icewind Dale kind of started as one, and then I kind of had to bail because that is just kind of fundamentally a different type of game. But I am sticking with it in Baldur's Gate 3. But also, there's a kind of, when you're making your character in Baldur's Gate 3, you get several options. You can choose to like play as one of the companions that you would be able to recruit normally if you were a custom character.
These are called origin characters.
Origin characters, and they have big plots, and no matter whether you are
Because
playing,
you have to log into EA's digital game distribution platform Origin in order to use them. It's a big deal. Larian's really got us on this one. They're making us use the competitors. They're making us do that thing where you have to log into Steam and then you got to log into another thing inside of Steam.
That's synergy.
It's a sin. You got the first three letters right, I'll tell you that.
It's the original sin.
No, I guess they're called origin characters. What? Because they have origins?
Yeah, I think so.
The origins beyond being made up in my noodle over here?
Yeah, I think that they are. They have a quest whether you play as them or with them. Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. That is the deal. When you create,
That's their deal.
That's their deal.
Wow.
And you can choose
Can you change
one
their
of the
face. This is like
No.
this is a weird question. So I can't choose.
You cannot
Lae'zel.
customize
Okay.
their appearance. You cannot customize their class. You cannot even customize their like subclass if that is a thing that is selected at first level. So for example, Shadowheart, you can't pick a different domain. But you can change their ability scores. That is like the thing. That's the thing you can do.
Yep.
In any case, so like those are options available to us. That's not what we're doing. We are doing custom characters, but there's one like origin story that actually allows you to make a custom character.
Hey, you want to talk about Tav first?
Yeah, Tav is is kind of the what is it in Mass Effect? Shepherd.
Shepherd. It's basically if you make a character and you don't put a name in, it auto inserts Tav.
Yeah.
Tav. But that's important. The reason I'm saying that is that historically, hey, Danny, big picture. What was Baldur's Gate? One sentence. What was Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 about? What were they about?
Turns out your dad's the god of murder, and there's a little bit of Highlander going on.
Some ball spawn.
Yeah, your dad, Ball, you're his spawn.
Yeah, so you're not. If you didn't put a name in, they didn't turn you into, Abdel. That's right. I remember the canonical name for the novelization protagonist for Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, the novels. Abdel. They don't do that. I don't know what they did if you didn't put it. They probably just said put a name in. Quit being
I think
silly.
it was blank.
Yeah. They were just like, you don't get a name.
Yeah.
And so in the world we called that the ball spawn. In this game, it's Tav.
Yeah, to the point where online discussions are like, hey, I made my Tav a cleric.
Right.
Who
And back
should
in
I
the day,
recruit?
we had a ball spawn. You would say, I made my ball spawn a cleric. That was cooler. Tav's not cool.
Tav's not cool. Like, I wouldn't prejudge somebody named Tav.
Let's keep saying it. Let's keep saying it in like every time we say it, it gets like 10% more profound. You ready? Tav's not cool.
I just got an email from Tav.
Tav?
Yeah, Tav from HR.
Tav is firing you?
Tav just told me to turn in my badge.
Tav's across the desk, twiddling his mustache, saying you gotta turn in your badge and gun?
Tav said I don't deserve it if I'm losing my service weapon all the time.
Insane. It's good. Anyway, they call him Tav. It's not the ball spawn. I think that's a downgrade.
Sure.
Yep. But you didn't choose a Tav, or you did choose a Tav named Balthazar, and Balthazar's got there's origin characters, and then there's like do whatever the hell you want, and then there's like a weird little thing in between.
There's a weird little thing in between, and you can choose a unique quest that you do not have access to. If you choose a full custom character, you can basically opt into what's called the Dark Urge.
Ooh.
And let me ask if this reminds you of anything you've ever heard of.
Okay, this is the quest text. Is that?
Yeah,
what
I'm not going to quote it. I'm just going to give you the vibe here.
Okay.
You've lost your memory, and you have a lot of like homicidal urges.
Okay.
You don't quite know who you are.
Yeah.
And you gotta try to piece together who exactly you are and why it is that you have these weird homicidal urges.
Yep.
That ring any bells? In the games we've covered, or is this kind of new?
Does it ring a ding ding any dang darn bells? Let's see. Well, I think in some of the previous games, sometimes you'd go to sleep and fantasize about destroying and ripping apart limb from limb everyone in your family and local friendship group.
I specifically remember like being on a boat on an ocean of blood.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say, I haven't played the Dark Urge. Ticklevar's not Dark Urge. I can say that. But it sounds like Balthazar the Barbarian is Dark Urge.
Yep. Balthazar the Barbarian is Dark Urge.
I'm going to say this. This is my gambit, okay?
Okay.
Saman Havarian's grandchild.
Oh. We'll see.
We'll see. So what does that involve? You just click the thing and you're like, I'm Dark Urge.
Yeah,
rude
the biggest effect that it has on character creation is you get a unique background, which is a part of kind of 5e character creation. There's the typical stuff of, you choose your class. Class is barbarian. You choose your quote unquote race, which my race is half orc. And that gives you stuff. Each one of these things give you some stuff. And then the final piece before ability scores is your background. And the background gives you a couple little bonuses to skills. So like soldier, you get bonuses to athletics because you're soldiering, and like intimidation, right? Well, there's a unique background for the Dark Urge, and it is called Haunted One.
Is a ghost following you around?
And the two skills are medicine and intimidation.
What?
Yeah.
Is it because you know about like organs and shit?
Anatomy, yeah, I guess.
Ugh. Disgusting. Has that come up? Has medicine come up a single time in this game?
Well, what's interesting is usually if you have a specific background, like urchin is a background.
Yeah.
And if there is a situation where maybe you are trying to like hide in an urban area, or you're trying to like pickpocket someone or like something like that, you might get a dialogue option that has in brackets your background, right? Well, every like dialogue option that is related to Dark Urge, it won't have the background name. It'll just have Dark Urge.
Huh.
So it seems a little
it's kind of coming up all the time.
Yeah, or maybe it is coming up, but it is simply the case that like Dark Urge trumps the background name. In any case,
I mean, Ticklevar I think chose Noble, and I purely chose that just because of the skill proficiencies you get, and I don't think that's come up a single time. Although it does change your inspiration. We'll talk about inspiration at some point later on.
Yeah.
But that does, it kind of sets up what inspires you and what doesn't. Which I wonder what inspires the Dark Urge.
Well, we shall see. In any case,
being kind, I bet.
In any case, the details of Balthazar's character creation pretty simple: half orc, barbarian, and just really strong, a little bit dexterous, really hardy and hale, and I think like basically 8s and 10s in intelligence, charisma, and wisdom. I think I probably put wisdom a little bit higher, and that's just a little bit of meta knowledge, knowing about what saves are really important in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. You really don't want a low wisdom score.
No. You want to be wise. You want to be wise enough not to be put to sleep. You want to be wise enough not to be held.
Just all the save or suck effects.
Yeah. Yes. Ticklevar's a sorcerer. Now, you bullied me.
I advised you.
You bullied me. You said, if you don't do... No, you didn't. You didn't bully me, but you did... You said, hey, because there are... Wait, one step back. Sorry. You're Dark Urge. Balthazar the Barbarian. Dark Urge background or origin, whatever. Subclass of Barbarian?
Subclass gets chosen at level 3 for barbarians. Yeah. It's weird because in 5th edition, there are some classes which at level 1, you got to pick a specialization, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Some classes, it's
Cleric.
at level... Yeah, cleric is the one because that's like...
Sorcerer.
Wizard's level 2. Ooh. Wizard is like, oh, what's your school? And then most other subclasses are chosen at level 3.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think
Ranger.
sorcerer is level 1, right?
It's level 1. And so I made that choice off the bat. And you told me, because there's like what? There's Wild Mage, which I don't know who's choosing that, but it ain't me. Okay? That's just not happening.
Yeah.
There is Dragon Blood or something like that. Draconic Blood. Yeah. Something like that. And I don't remember what it does. Oh, yes, I do. It kind of gives you some scaly skin and some benefits from that. Maybe a spell specialization or something.
Gives you a free little area cone effect, I think. And
a breath weapon.
Yeah,
and
it gives you a +1 to AC.
Yeah, because of your scaly skins.
And
I don't like the way it looks.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is it like it really does when you choose the draconic subclass for sorcerer? You're having to opt in to being a scaly boy.
Yeah, it is interesting because they're like, it's the reason for that. I get it, is that sorcerers in D&D, it's about blood.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it's about like whose blood you got. Are you a wild mage? It's because you got wild. I think it's actually like fey blood, maybe something like that. So what gives you that? My I haven't read the player's handbook in a while for 5th edition. But for the dragon thing, which I think in like 3rd edition was just standard, like what made you a sorcerer, you got dragon blood in there. I think that's like the stable thing, and that's initially what I was going for because I was like, look, we had a conversation, and you said, hey, you should be this one kind, and I said, but I think canonically, Ticklevar got dragon blood. But here's the deal. It made me look a way I didn't like. I don't like it. I don't like looking at it. Like, that's just it. And then you told me, what's the one I ended up choosing? You remember the name of it? Storm. And it's like, hey, would you like to get a bunch of like weird-ass storm spells for free? You want to be able to like make winds blow being like a pirate sorcerer? And I was like, oh, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then it said, hey, if you hit with any level 1 or above spell in any given turn, would you like to be able to fly for free for 30 feet?
Yes.
Without provoking attacks of opportunity at any time?
Yeah. Do you think that that's weaker or stronger than +1 to AC, Cameron?
Would you like to be able to, and this is a thing I've done, not in episode 1, of course, but later on, would you like to be able to use your sorcerer points, which is its own little mini game we'll talk about at some point. Would you like to be able to blow 2 sorcerer points, use a spell as a bonus action, use that bonus action to fireball a group of enemies, use your standard action to fireball that same group of enemies, and then fly away while giggling? Would you like to do that? Maybe Storm Sorcerer is for you.
Yeah. No,
that's what Ticklevar's up to. Hey, you know how like Ticklevar like ate shit for 45 episodes?
He did.
Never again.
No. Storm sorcerers are very strong
It's
and to be
extremely
honest,
strong.
I was suggesting it for way more minor reasons, just because, this is me pushing my glasses up on my brow. Well, you know,
I've been looking at my spreadsheet.
Ticklevar's a human, and humans in Baldur's Gate 3, the 5th edition adaptation, they gave humans something that they don't give in the tabletop version, which is free proficiency in light armor. So that +1 to armor class that draconic sorcerers get, you're not eligible for that +1 if you're wearing any armor. And it's given that you already have the light armor proficiency, and you'll be able to wear your light armor for free. It's quite a little suboptimal. It's a little suboptimal to go draconic if you're a human sorcerer. That was where I was coming from.
That's you. Hey, you know what I just learned?
Yeah.
Like just now?
Yeah.
I got a light armor proficiency. I've never looked. I clicked human. I just thought they don't get shit. I don't care.
They do get weird things.
They get to like wield hay forks and shit. Like that's like part of what they get.
Yeah, so it's really strange because in early
if you're a human, they assert that you're a pig farmer.
Yeah.
No matter what your background, you have a genetic predisposition toward pig farming.
I believe the bonus is called militia.
Yes, it is. I think that is right.
It's all like every human has been conscripted at one point or the other, no matter what your profession. They're given light armor and they're given a spear or a pitchfork.
Yeah, look, the spell plague happened and it like changed people forever.
Yeah. Changed society.
Yeah, changed everybody. Well, that's cool to learn. Mm-hmm. Especially since I've been playing, roughly 15 hours or so, not knowing that.
Well, here's the thing. I think whether you've got +1 to armor class or you have, light armor proficiency, it kind of doesn't matter if you're able to fly away at the end of every turn.
Yeah, being able to fly light, I also have, this will come up later. By virtue of having played the whole first act, sometimes things get mixed around.
Sure.
And I don't know where this is going to come up anyway, so I'll just say it now. Somewhere around like level 2 or 3, I got gauntlets of arrow snatching. Mm-hmm. Do you know these?
I do know these. They're sold by the first merchant you meet in the Emerald Grove.
So I probably purchased them from that fella. And yeah, so if someone shoots you with an arrow, as a reaction, you can just grab that thing out of the air. And Ticklevar has been grabbing arrows. Although it's very funny that the special effect from some arrow attacks still applies. So for example, many times he has reached up, snatched an arrow out of the air, and it has then exploded and or knocked him to the ground prone.
That's fun.
It's a funny thing to see.
Mm-hmm. There's still a bomb on that arrow.
There's still, it doesn't change. It's a simulation.
Yeah. That's good. Barbarians are going to get more interesting as I get a couple of levels in and as I kind of like settle into the build that I have planned. But the big difference in 5th edition versus previous editions with respect to the Barbarian Rage, which is like the keystone, the big ability. That's the reason why barbarians are barbarians and not fighters, is that in previous editions, Barbarian Rage gave you all these immunities. And that was kind of the reason why Balthazar the Barbarian was able to do Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 solo. That and the fact that he got like a full party's worth of experience and leveled 6 times faster.
And because he was going full Wolfgar, right? He's just like, ooh, ain't nobody hurting me.
Correct. Yeah, it's like, any kind of stun, paralysis, sleep, etc. None of it worked. None of that is true in 5th edition, not at level 1. Basically, what it does is it gives you resistance to physical damage. So all physical damage is basically halved and rounded down before I take it. And like barbarians already start with like the highest HP per level, and I've got good constitution, so that is like the first thing. And then the second thing is like a lot of barbarian abilities don't work unless you are raging. So it kind of unlocks new offensive potential. But in terms of like adding extra damage, it's like a very minor bonus that like on its own. So I think when I first booted up Baldur's Gate 3 and I was kind of like reacquainting myself with the 5th edition rule set and looking at Barbarian, I was like, oh, it's still got to deal with like all these spells that could, hold me, etc.
You were thinking maybe Balthazar the Barbarian was a level 1 barbarian, level 7 cleric. That's what you were thinking.
That's the thing. And I did, after the full game was released, I did a playthrough of not a barbarian because I wanted to just play the game in a different way. But shortly after that, I started a somewhat Balthazar run, and you told me, you said, "Don't do this, Danny.
Yeah.
You're gonna get sick. You're gonna burn yourself out." I did not finish that run.
I
but
know you. Mm-hmm. I know how you are. Mm-hmm. I said, take a break.
Yeah.
But yeah, you played what? Like maybe 20 hours or something?
Yeah, I played 20 hours. I wanted to play to kind of figure out whether or not the solo was truly viable, and I got enough information to know it was. I will say there are a lot of builds that I played with that had like a dip of Barbarian, like 2 levels of Barbarian, and then like went wild. I am not doing that for this run because I am Balthazar the Barbarian. It's Barbarian first. Barbarian's always going to have the highest number of levels in whatever build I am doing. So it will be mostly Barbarian. So that'll be fun. That'll be good. It won't be just Barbarian to Paladin 8, right? And then like using Reckless Attack and Rage and smiting. Yeah.
That is fun though.
That is fun. I've got some great footage of one-shotting a bunch of things with Smite. Paladins are very powerful in this game, but that's kind of what Balthazar is. We've talked about our 2 little characters, and you're also a noble, probably just for persuasion, right? Is that why you picked noble?
Maybe. Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. I don't remember. I think it gave me history, persuasion, and something else. I don't know. It doesn't really matter.
And swag.
That's right. I'm able to really demonstrate to people my noble upbringing. Actually, I got an inspiration point fairly recently for having 2,000 gold because I'm a noble and I just love money.
That's good.
I guess that's good. I don't know what that is. We'll talk about it as we get further on into the game. But yeah, 18 charisma, and I think like maybe 14 for dexterity and some other thing.
Yeah.
Constitution, because
you are unlike the previous Baldur's Gate games, sorcerers have a attribute that they key off of in 5th edition.
So it actually matters a little bit. And so I put the dexterity in because that'll give you some bonus, some dexterity, some bonus AC. So I think Tekelvar's rocking like a 12 AC 12 AC 13, something like that.
Okay,
it's not bad.
Maybe going to be able to, when you log on and start playing Act 2 later, you might put on some light armor. It might improve drastically.
Oh, I'm going to. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm going to put on drow armor, some shit like that. Who knows? But yes, we did that. This isn't the only thing you do, though. Did you know that?
Making a character?
Yeah, you create your guy, and then you create some other guy. just a fella. Mm-hmm. So it's called, what's it called? Like the Spirit Companion?
Dream Visitor.
Dream Visitor.
Or Dream Guardian. I remember initially it was Guardian, and you were prompted, in the early access, you were prompted, like, what do you desire?
Are you DTF?
And if so, well, actually, no. There was no...
and if so, whomst?
There was no ace option that you could, like, click to opt out of the secondary character creation in
I don't think there was. Thinking about it, there was like, who are you about? Mm-hmm. Anyway, but you do that.
Make whatever you want, parentheses, in the confines of a Baldur's Gate 3 5th edition... fantasy-ass thing.
Yeah, if they would let me make truly any kind of character I want, I'd make a Modron.
Yes.
I want just a cube. I want a floating cube with arms and legs and wings.
Mm-hmm. Somebody's going wild. It's like, oh, let me customize my Otyug tentacles.
Shit. Have people added? Hold on, I gotta look this up. Modron characters BG3. Let me see if someone's done this yet.
There are definitely mods that let you play as a kobold.
Yes, I have seen those. It's looking like no Modrons yet.
Dang.
I know. How disappointing. But yeah, so you got to create this, what is it called? Dream Guardian? Spirit Lover? What is it called? What did you say?
I think it was a Dream Visitor.
Dream Visitor. Okay, you got to make this character. What'd you make?
I actually pulled off a little strategy you pulled off, which was, I think for your first playthrough, you were like, I'm going to make this thing look ridiculous, so when it comes on screen, you'll be able to recognize it as the thing you created, right?
Yes, yeah. I very purposefully made like a light purple-skinned, heavily tattooed, I think, gnome just so it was like unambiguous that this was my created character, because
Yeah.
I was afraid I would forget what it looked like. That's not what I did for this one, but that was my initial strategy.
So yeah, you are prompted. What's wild is in my footage, you will see I hit random a couple of times. Geralt of Rivia appears. I swear to God. It's just a spitting image of The Witcher 3's protagonist. Like,
Cool.
I don't go with that. I hit randomize one more time, and it's like just some half
You want
elf.
Triss Marigold.
It's a like a half elf woman with like purple hair. And I'm like, sure, that's fine.
Right. Because it kind of doesn't really matter.
It doesn't. And you are prompted. So the prompt later on, it's going to be referred to as a dream visitor. But the only prompt is you need a guardian, choose one. That's the actual text.
Interesting. I'm not going to tell you what I chose for mine.
Okay.
People can watch the video right now. You're looking at it right now. You can see what I did.
Okay.
Yep. That's funnier.
That's fun. What's interesting is this character creation happens in between two cinematics.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah, so you boot up the game, you select the difficulty, which I think we both selected balanced.
Just regular, yeah.
The regular old difficulty, and there is a there's a little brief cinematic, and we see a Githyanki getting a little bug put in her eye. Like that is the first cinematic, and then the cinematic ends with like we're watching from our own little pod prison the Githyanki get bugged, and then the Mind Flayer turns their attention to us, and then they bug us, and then we create our character, and then there's
character,
and then there is another cinematic.
What is that cinematic?
That cinematic is the probably one of the first cinematics that ever came out in this game. It is almost unchanged. There's a little bit extra from that was added after that was added when the game launched. So, but that cinematic is a giant nautiloid ship with like tentacles arriving in a city and absolute going wild. Like zapping people up into the ship. It's crashing towers. And then some dragons come out of a portal and start attacking it. And the dragons have like Githyanki on them. And you see the Mind Flayer and he's like, oh gosh. He's inside the Nautilus. He's trying to navigate away. And they like go to an icy place. Maybe it's Icewind Dale. Maybe this is close to Tin Towns. And the dragons follow me there. And then he like takes another turn, goes through another portal. And we see a dragon like explode the chamber that we were just in. And we actually, this is the difference from the difference compared to the early access. We kind of have this additional piece of footage that shows that same Githyanki woman like crawling out of her pod that she was imprisoned in, and she looks out, and don't you know, we're in Avernus. We're in hell. There's a bunch of imps flying around.
Cool.
And they begin to attack the ship, and that is when the game begins.
I want to play as an imp. Let me be an imp.
I know, right?
Let me summon an imp. Be my buddy.
I haven't messed around with polymorph. I wonder what kind of is it just a sheep?
Yeah, probably sheeps and goats. Are there goats? I don't think there's goats in this game.
Might just be sheep.
Sheeps and cows. And the Roth.
The Rothe.
I don't like that.
No. You disregard the accent.
Yeah. Roth is such better than Rothe.
Rothe.
That's awful. That's got the worst mouthfeel ever.
It's not a
Roth.
good mouthfeel.
That's cool.
I 100% believe you.
Yeah, which is better. So all that happens, and then we wake up in the ship.
We wake up
all
to
this has been playing the whole time. If you're watching the videos, it's all been playing. You get it.
We wake up to a, I think, well-shortened tutorial. This tutorial had like 2 big areas chopped out of it compared to where the early access was.
Oh,
and
really?
I think it does. I think the first tutorial was a little bit more Gygaxian of like, oh, well, in order to get to the helm, you'd have to go up on the deck and like go around.
Oh, that is right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That's true. That's not in here anymore. Yeah, where you were kind of like out on the like exterior of the ship, kind of like Final Fantasy X, when you're fighting that big thing on the people. Final Fantasy X heads know what I'm talking about here. When you're fighting that boss monster, or you're on top of the airship, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, you did have to do that, but you don't have to do that now. It's pretty. It's like a good 40-minute tutorial prologue. You make your way through the Nautiloid. People who've seen our previous videos on this can figure it out. Most people have seen this in some form or fashion if they care about Baldur's Gate, I think. It's just been, it was shown multiple times in the early access period as part of like official streams, things like that. And I think a lot of people have played through this part too.
Yeah. And it truly is a bare bones tutorial. The tutorial is just via tooltips. So it's not as if tutorialization is like built into the level. If you turned off tooltips, this would not be a tutorial. But yeah, you leave the chamber. You are confronted by Lae'zel. And
The Githyanki we were talking about.
The Githyanki we've been talking about in shiny silver armor. And you very quickly realize that you have both been implanted, as was seen in the introductory cinematic, but also you are now like able to you're slightly telepathically connected. You can like see a little bit of each other's minds, and it's like always accompanied with this animation of like getting a really bad migraine. You're like, ugh, and then there's some like wiggles in the air. Ugh. Oh no,
Purple wiggles.
I just saw what was in your brain.
I got fleeting images of bleeding blah 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 blah.
That's right.
It's going to happen about 900 times between here and the end of the game.
Yep.
What do you think about Lae'zel?
I actually think that it's really interesting. I think that small addition of the footage of her in the introductory cinematic, I think it helps not be immediately hostile to her when she like confronts you with her sword drawn. I think it sells that character a little better in terms of her like telling you, oh yeah, we both have the same problem, right? We both have the same problem, and they let you get through this conversation very quickly. And in fact, the moment you talk to her and you're like, oh man, we got to get to the helm. We got to get out of here. Because you got a lot of problems right now, even at this early point in the game. A, you got like a bug in your brain, which is bad.
Yeah.
B, you've been kidnapped. For Balthazar, it's explicitly told me you can't remember anything. You're like really disoriented. And also, you're in hell.
Yeah.
You're in like bad hell.
You're looking out. There's lava. There's red mountains. There's imps and shit flying around. It's bad
stuff.
times.
Yeah. So you are
The
motivated.
blood wars going on down there.
So you're motivated to like, top priority. Let's get control of the ship and like navigate out of hell. Right.
Yeah.
Pull an Elminster.
You got
out.
to get out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think that book was called Elminster in Hell.
Elminster goes to hell.
It's not goes to hell.
Elminster goes to hell.
It's not like a Freddy Krueger film.
Or like a Ernest sequel. Ernest goes to jail. Ernest goes to hell.
I would do it. Elminster goes to jail. Elminster goes to camp. I like all that. That's fun. Elminster's Halloween, whatever that was called. Oh no,
Yeah.
Elminster Scared Stupid. That's good.
You can
Someone draw that up for me. Someone draw, do a little sketch for me of Elminster in the position of Ernest from Ernest Scared Stupid.
I would like to see Elminster as like a kindergarten teacher, a la Kindergarten Cop.
That's a different unit. Why are you bringing that up?
I know, but I think that there's still like a fish out of water thing going on.
Okay, all right, we'll see. We'll test it out.
In any case, there is no like explicit dialogue way to refuse Lae'zel's assistance, and because this is a tutorial, Balthazar is going to like allow this brief party like cooperation to occur. We will hear from Lae'zel once more after the tutorial, and maybe at the end of this episode. Depends on how long we go here. But yeah, so we meet up with Lae'zel. We immediately bop into a combat, and we are introduced to turn-based 5th edition combat.
It's a pretty accurate, regular thing.
It is pretty accurate. If you know 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, this is going to be quite similar. It's interesting. The small changes, most of them are just good. Most of them are like, oh, wow, some game designers got a hold of this. Mm-hmm. These were people that were not 100% just... that is the biggest burn, but I'm going to stand behind that.
I get it. Snuck up on me. Jeez. Oh.
Like, for example, initiative in Dungeons and Dragons for a long time is like any other roll. It's a D20.
Yep.
In Baldur's Gate 3, initiative's a D4.
Yeah.
Which is so much better. It actually makes your initiative modifier really impactful. So if you have like a +4 to initiative, you're going to go first like the vast majority of the time.
Yeah.
Which is like a really big benefit in a turn-based game, like being able to, if the enemy's surprised, being able to get that advantage, right? Being able to like position and set things up.
Well, it also does a thing that that tabletop wants to probably discourage, right? Which is simultaneous turns.
Yes.
The video game, it's like really, really fun to be able to be like, my Lae'zel and Ticklevar, they both got the same initiative, so we get to like decide what happens when, and I can like attack with one and then move with the other and attack with them and then move with the other, right?
What if you've got an area spell, but the enemies are a little bit dispersed, but if you've got simultaneous turns, you can direct Lae'zel to like push somebody into some other people. Mm-hmm.
So it's great. Whereas I do think at the tabletop level, that's not happening as much because I don't think 5th edition D&D is often played as a tactics game. I think it's often a lot more wiggly. You've played a 5th edition game before. You played Curse of Strahd for like 15 years.
Yeah, I played Curse of Strahd, and I've also played a little bit of 5th edition Rime of the Ice Maiden.
Right. But that one was not, as far as I understand, as far as my experience in that, right? It was played less by the book than, say, the Curse of Strahd was, right?
But no, you're correct. With the typical rule set, 5th edition, it's an edition of compromises, and I think you gotta regard it as a thing with so much inertia and nostalgia wrapped up in it. Mm-hmm. It's never going to be it's not a survivalist game where you're like, the game isn't organized around tracking meticulously resources, but that's in there. It's not a super hardcore tactical, war game, but that's in there. So it's a lot of lanes, and
5th edition plays a lot like the original D&D, not like in actual play, but in concept. Because the original D&D was a build your own game toolkit because nothing made any sense.
Sure.
And like, you can read Peterson's work on this. That was pretty explicitly understood by the people at TSR, right? And like everyone nationwide started like doing way radically different stuff. 5th edition is a little bit like that, where like I've never encountered anyone who plays with all of the rules. It's kind of a pick your thing.
Yeah.
However, when you make it a video game, you got to make some choice. You got to pick the stuff, and then you got to implement them kind of to the hilt. And so that's what we're getting here.
And kind of Baldur's Gate is, whereas 4th edition was actually like, no, we're just going to measure all distances in squares.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And it's really like picking its lane in terms of, no, this is going to be a tactical experience with a lot of like pushing and like movement matters. Baldur's Gate 3 is an implementation of 5th edition where the very specific number of feet or meters that your character can jump or, travel or dash to is all going to be super granular and like matter in the same way. And like line of sight is going to matter in the same way as like an XCOM game.
Yeah. Yes.
And there's going to be a very unique and particular play experience that emerges from all of those things kind of getting mashed together. But overall, this is I was really hesitant to record this season because there was a season in the past where we played a game with turn-based combat that didn't work out for me personally. And it rent
your brain in twain and changed you as a person?
Yeah. This one didn't do that. And
it created the great aporia where there's an 18-month period of your life you just don't remember.
And yeah, I don't. Complete amnesia. But yeah, this game, and I have to tell you, after just doing 2 combats in the tutorial. You got the first combat with Lae'zel. You end up meeting another character very briefly named Shadowheart. She's in a pod. You can either try to free her and fail, or like go to another room and find a key and free her in that fashion.
Yep.
And she'll be like, okay, yeah, sure. She and Lae'zel immediately get a little snappy with each other.
They don't like each other.
They don't like each other.
Because Lae'zel's an alien.
Because Lae'zel is an interdimensional alien with a, Gith Yankee have a little bit of a reputation. They all are in Undying, and they're super loyal to their Undying queen.
Yeah, they're not cool. You don't want to invite a Gith Yankee to like the cookout. You know what I mean?
No.
You don't want to be like, all right, you're bringing potato salad. You're bringing, you tell Lae'zel, hey, I would like you to bring root beer float. She's not going to do it.
No.
She's going to kill someone at the party and serve them.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yep. So Shadowheart's hesitance noted, justified probably in the grand scheme of things, but you can recruit her, and maybe you also have a little pet brain that you might have been able to interact with and recruit.
Nah, I killed it.
Yeah, same. I didn't even mean to, and I did.
I don't want a brain talking to me.
And you immediately get into...
My brain's already talking too much. I don't need a brain talking out loud.
Talking out loud to you. Making asks of you. Making requests.
Yep.
And then you get to the culmination of the prologue, which is like a nice little set piece fight where there's like a really high level devil and a really high level, mind flayer. They're like level 9 and 8 or something. And they're fighting each other. They're like dueling. And the devil's got a big flaming sword, and the mind flayer's like sending out psychic energy and just trying to stun the devil. And there's imps and whatnot attacking you. And you're playing this, and the really important thing that makes this game's turn-based combat work is it is snappy. It is really, when something ends its turn, the next turn, if it's like another NPC, they're already moving. Before the camera even zooms to like where that next enemy is, that enemy is like halfway through its turn.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's even like when there's like enough enemies, when there's like some of these huge fights we're going to do later in this season, it's almost like a tiny bit more challenging to read. And it's like, wait, what did that imp do? What did that zombie do over there? That turn went so quickly. That's really important because these fights can take a lot of turns. They can take a lot of time, and like having it be snappy really matters.
Well, the AI is also, because we talked about the initiative grouping thing. I was going to say the PC, the NPC enemies, right? If they have simultaneous initiative, they'll take a simultaneous turn.
Yes.
And that's like huge for some of these fights.
And I find that it's usually if they share a creature type.
Yeah.
So like if you got you'll be, if you're in the same initiative order and you're kind of like roughly the same class or initiative type, you will just all move and then do your little attacks, pop, 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 and then we've moved on. So this allayed a lot of my concerns when I first booted up Baldur's Gate way back in the early access, and it is still snappy, if not snappier. This is a cool fight. Did you stick around in this fight? Did you fight the commander?
I've done this enough times where I just don't care, and so I like dashed my way, because really all you have to do is make your way to the console at the front, to the helm, and then like wiggle the thing. We've talked before on one of the previous like impressions episodes how cool it is the way the Mind Flayer ship, the Nautiloid, how it goes through the planes, which is like you attach these like tentacles to one another and you like twang them like a guitar string.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. But yeah, so I just like sprinted my way up there to do that and like killed the stuff on the way, so it wouldn't attack of opportunity me. Presumably what you did is kill the devil.
Yeah, so because I've got a solo playthrough here planned, and I know that the two allies that I am currently partied up with due to necessity in this tutorial, they're not going to be sticking around. So I need every advantage I can get. So you have, 16 turns or something in order to like activate the transponder before I guess you crash. And around 10 turns remaining, two big old Cambions arrive to help out the devil. But if you can kill the devil, if you can kind of like coordinate with the Mind Flayer, and if the Mind Flayer gets lucky and stuns the devil enough, and you can just land a couple of hits, you can kill him, and he drops this cool flaming greatsword that is just like always on fire, so it always deals like an extra 1d4 fire damage. So we stick around for a couple turns, and it was actually a really great, like a auspicious begin to the playthrough that I was able to do this without reloading, and I was able to get the flaming sword, which is great. All you got to do is just pick it up, and then I like had somebody else activate the transponder, and pop, we were out of there.
Yep. And then you bloop your way into the wilderness.
Yep.
The nautiloid crashes.
There's a little
You fall out
cutscene
of
of like a bunch of people who are like in the surrounding area, like looking at this thing flying through the sky,
Frowning.
Like, oh, what's going on? Oh, there's like a tiefling looking through some binoculars or like a telescope. You see a smug drow and a hobgoblin looking at it.
Yep.
The goblins are mobilizing. Oh my gosh, what's going on?
It's great.
And interestingly, as you're falling onto the beach, you are like, you're falling at terminal velocity here. And then you are like, something levitates you briefly. Oh, and you're like, oh, what's going on? And then you fall and hit your noggin. You wake up the next morning.
Yeah. There's a really cool shot before that of you're like sucked up against the side of the ship because there's a vacuum.
Yes.
Whatnot, and there's like a Mind Flayer there, and he could have zapped you in the head, but it chose not to.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like you're both kind of you make eye contact.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, this is no good.
Get a load of this.
And what interrupts that moment is like a shard of the nautiloid smacking you in the face and like propelling you out of the window.
Well, so this is the setup, and then we'll talk a little bit about some companions you can get here at the beginning, because there's basically a couple more tutorial fights, right?
Sure.
Like you can go around the crash nautiloid, and it's an opportunity to get some companions, to start the game with. But let me say a thing.
Sure.
You couldn't come up with a verb there. Let me say a thing here at the beginning. I don't think I like. After having sat with it, since we both played the game the week it came out, completed it very quickly, been sitting with it. I uninstalled it after that. I have not returned to it. I'm back now. I really don't like that the game starts with like the universe. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that it begins with Spelljammer shit, I guess is what I'm saying. In my, ideal D&D fantasy scenario, right?
Yeah, where you're starting at level 1.
You begin as a dirt farmer, and as you get more powerful, you discover that you are part of, a vast universe of wild shit that happens, right? Ooh, there's the Feywild over there. Ooh, there's, Spelljammer stuff going on here. Ooh, there's the Nine Hells. They're down there. Oh, wait a minute. There's, demons, too? In the Abyss? You know what I mean? As you learn about the war, as you get more powerful, you, by necessity, have to learn about, the Underdark and all this other, weird stuff in the world, because, that's the threats that you slowly work your way up to understanding, right? You understand, by virtue of being more powerful in the world, the fantasy world, you understand the context you live in better, okay? That's what I like in my D&D fantasy. This game begins with the planar stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't really like that.
Yeah, you're getting your first cinematics with everything cranked up to 11.
Yeah, I think it just
content-wise.
Yeah, I really think it dispels some of the more the fun revelation of that stuff, I guess, right? That I don't think that every random person's crossing over into devils and to interplanar ships and all this kind of stuff, right? But that's Baldur's Gate 3's imaginary, right? And maybe I'm just poisoned by Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, which take you from dirt farmer to regional hero to then planar hero.
Well, I think I'm gonna speculate here, and I'm gonna think that part of this is actually exacerbated by you've got the prologue, I'm on a nautiloid in hell.
Yeah.
And then, aside from the wreckage of the nautiloid and giant tentacles of the nautiloid, being around like the beach where it crashes, you then go to an area that is, not level 1 dirt farmer by any means, but very well-trod, low-level D&D campaigns.
Low fantasy.
Low fantasy, there are, what are they going to be? They're going to be goblins. Mm-hmm. They're going to be rude. There's going to be a couple of skeletons. Mm-hmm. There's going to be where are the skeletons? They're in a crypt. There's going to be some wildlife. You'll interact with wildlife, maybe even some magical wildlife, but pretty stuff that I think that is appropriate and kind of definitely, if you're going to make a D&D game, which I think Baldur's Gate 3 is that's kind of what it's trying to do here. It's trying to make the big D&D game. You got to have that stuff so that later on when you get to Act 2 and 3 and there's wilder stuff, oh, wow, look how far I've come. So I think that what you're saying is by starting it at level 11 and then spending an act with it kind of toned down back to 3, it mutes maybe some of the way the experience could have gone.
That's partially what I'm saying. I think what you just said helped me get some clarity for it. Mm-hmm. I think what's fascinating about D&D, right? Especially not even just D&D, the Forgotten Realms as the default D&D setting at this point. That's actually more what I'm speaking to, right?
Yeah,
is that it's low-level campaigns are made up of humans and dwarves and elves and gnomes and half-elves and orcs and all these different things, right? That all have really robust histories to them and interrelationships with one another and all this kind of stuff, right? Tieflings now as well. Mm-hmm. All of that kind of gets pushed out because what are we leaning toward here in this act, even from the very beginning? Well, we're going to go with Lae'zel to go and see the other Githyanki, right? Literally, it's humans walking around, and we'll talk about this when we get there, obviously. Humans, elves, dwarves, halflings walking around, and over there in the corner of the map, there's literal planar aliens who have an entire different mode of engagement with the universe than anyone else does. And they make everything. It's exactly what you just said, just in a slightly different context. They mute everything else. They make the kind of interesting diversity of the D&D Forgotten Realms setting. They make it look quaint and pointless by comparison to their big fantasy science fiction context.
And I also think a little
and
bit,
and the Illithids do that too, right?
They do, and I think a little bit is almost there are a lot of people who are probably playing Baldur's Gate 3 that don't have a lot of experience with the tabletop game or even the Forgotten Realms, right? I don't think that's an unsafe assumption.
Yeah.
And there is a trajectory that I think the two of us had in our exposure to Dungeons and Dragons and the Forgotten Realms of
partially through Baldur's Gate 1 and 2.
Sure. Mm-hmm. That was able to be oh, wow, the dwarves are wild. Oh, wow, the elves are wild. There's all this weird and wild stuff about them. Mm-hmm. And then after you are immersed in that, in whatever medium you're looking at, be it looking through a monster manual or reading through some campaign books or playing Baldur's Gate, then you confront the wild stuff. And the wild stuff is that much wilder because you know how deep and how weird that even the kind of the quote unquote traditional fantasy stuff can get. And then there's this stuff out of left field. And it almost feels like Baldur's Gate 3 deprives new players of the experience of of that reveal of this world that's all fleshed out. There's a whole other astral plane.
Yeah. Well, and part of it's the cosmic, even here at the very beginning, right? Falling out of the nautiloid, the obvious cosmic context makes everything we do in Act 1 feel deeply unimportant.
Mm.
And I enjoy Act 1. I think it's good. We're going to have a lot to talk about. We had a couple episodes on it coming up, right? I think we're going to have a fun time talking about it. I think it's good. But at the end of the day, you know this is not about goblins and druids. And ultimately, whatever happens to the goblins and druids probably doesn't matter all that much compared to the cosmic setting, the cosmic framework that kind of supersedes it. So I got to put that out there at the beginning, that I think the game, by making it mind flayers out the gate,
it unnecessarily steals thunder.
I think it does. I really think it does. And I felt that a lot while playing so far. But however, flip side, there's going to be some episodes where I don't think that's happening, where I think that like they've managed that mix really well. And I think that makes some stuff stick out in a really good way, really positive way. For example, Karlach. I think that sticks out in a really positive way. So we'll get there at some point. Let's talk about some companions that we can meet here at the opening of the game and these little short environs around the crashed Nautiloid.
Yeah, we've got 4 people that we can recruit, and they are just very strategically placed to maximize the chance that you will just run into them, and then you can have like a brief conversation to kind of get their vibe. I think that this stuff has been around since early access, and it has all been kind of curated and carved to like maximize the information they are giving you about what is this character, and trying to make a strong first impression about what you're signing up for, and recruiting them. So the first person is going to actually depend on whether or not you freed Shadowheart. If you did free Shadowheart in the prologue, she will be unconscious on the beach like 30 yards away from where you land. Did you free Shadowheart in your prologue?
Yeah, I did. I didn't even know I knew you could choose not to, but I didn't know it changed her starting position.
It does, yeah. She is banging on the door of the crypts another like 100 yards down the beach if she was still in the pod when you left.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
She just goes off on her own adventure.
Yeah, and she's actually a little ticked at you. So like that is the version where it's a little bit more of a confrontational meeting. I did not interact with her body.
Okay.
Yeah, there are several other corpses around her, and I get a little cutscene where Balthazar's like, "Man, you don't know who you are, but man, you feel at home around all these dead bodies."
And you're just like, all right.
Yeah, all right. And I just do not click her.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. You're gonna have to carry this section, unfortunately. I've got a couple other interactions I can talk about, but what about Shadowheart with you? What's your
I talked to Shadowheart.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, am I with Lae'zel at the beginning? I actually don't remember.
No, you're not with Lae'zel.
I picked them all up again very quickly at the very beginning. So I don't remember exactly how it worked out.
Yeah, so Shadowheart, unconscious on the beach.
Yeah, she's like right there, and I talked with her.
Asterion is laying a trap for people, lying about a brain being in a bush so that he can like assault you.
Mm-hmm. And it was like, oh, he's a vampire. It was pretty clear.
That's what's really funny is that canonically you don't know he's a vampire.
Yeah, you don't. But it's like he's like trying to trick me. He like tackled me. We did a little bit of a roll around while he was trying to kill me. And I was like, hey, don't try to kill me. Join my team. He joined my team for a little while.
And interestingly, because if you know Balthazar, it's about Solo, but it's also about becoming as powerful as possible. Right.
And notably, by the way, you can only have 4 people in a party in this game.
A party at once.
You can't have 6.
Any in excess will be in a pocket plane called your camp.
Yeah, which we'll talk about in some other future episode.
But anyway, Asterion, I tell Asterion, hey, I don't want you with me, but you can hang out at my camp.
Yeah.
So I do that to Asterion. There's a hand popping out of a portal. Did you see that?
Hand popping out of a portal?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I
There's
did
like a
see
sassy
that.
wizard.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Old Gale? You didn't meet Gale?
I did not go there because I knew I would not be playing with Gale, and I did not want to initiate any of Gale's quest. And so Gale in my game, an old Ticklevar session, and I played with the original game. I'm sure there are Gale lovers who are deeply disappointed. Here's the deal. Every single one of these party members, only some of them are going to show up in anyone's game. And I played my first playthrough when the game came out with Gale, and I didn't enjoy him as a character, and I found actually having to keep up with his quest onerous. I hated having to feed him my items and all kinds of stuff. So, like, Chiklevar game just will not have a Gale in it because I never rescued Gale from the planar hole that he was in.
Well, Gale lovers, I have just very bad news.
Oh, no. What happened to Gale?
Well, I saw a hand popping out of a portal, and there was a voice on the other side. He's like, hey, can I get a hand? And there was a dialogue option from the Dark Urge to be like, and a big part of this playthrough for us, in the same way, if you listener, take your mind back to Disco Elysium, the Disco Elysium season. Cameron role-played a very bad protagonist, like a virulently racist character, right?
In Disco Elysium.
Yeah, in Disco Elysium.
Yeah. Not all the time.
Not all the time. But that was
Chiklevar. There's not a lot of opportunity here in the first episode to get a sense of him as a character. He believes strongly in markets, and he thinks that authority is important.
Yeah,
those are the two things.
But I'm just letting you know, listener, if there is ever a dialogue option that has in brackets Dark Urge next to it, I'm clicking it. Because I want to see like the full, we want to present to you two very different playthroughs, and one of them is Balthazar as the Dark Urge doing the Dark Urge stuff. There was a dialogue option that says fantasize about tearing the hand off.
Oh no!
And the
Balthazar don't. Balthazar no.
The screen goes to black.
Balthazar no.
And I come to, and I've got his hand in my inventory.
Balthazar no. Balthazar no.
Oh no. And what's
now, do
really,
you think that do you think the game was trying to tell you? You think the hand was trying to tell you what to do?
I think so. I think that the hand was literally saying, "Hey, give me a hand," which is an order.
That's an order.
And the worst thing that anyone can do is tell anyone what to do.
Yeah.
Unless someone told you what to do, and then you telling them to die is okay.
Yeah.
It's what about who told who what first.
It's okay for someone to say, do what thou wilt, as long as you don't tell them what to do.
Yes.
But yeah, so Chiklevar generally is going to be leading from the political center, and Balthazar is going to be the ontological murder libertarian that we all know and love.
I was thinking about, what about the huge Mages and Murder Dads fan who loves Balthazar? He bought the Balthazar shirt for the limited time. It was for sale.
It's a he, the fan.
I think it might be.
You think? I don't think that's true. I don't think that the biggest Mages and Murder Dads fans are he.
Oh, no, I'm saying Balthazar fan. I haven't finished with the description of the fan.
I know, but you gendered the fan.
I did gender the fan because what's coming next is they're a hardcore libertarian. And they are a fan specifically of Balthazar because Balthazar is like, look at this cool, fun, positive role model for libertarianism, right?
I got you.
Yes.
So you think the in ideality.
Yes.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And that fan in particular is going to be watching this season and be like, no, Balthazar, don't do that.
Balthazar, the market solve.
No.
But yeah, so you rip Gale's hand, presumably he died.
I don't see the body, the rest of the body. Maybe he's okay.
Interesting. So you didn't interact with Shadowheart. You ripped Gale's hand off. What about Lae'zel? What happened there?
Well, Lae'zel, we meet Lae'zel in a cage.
That's right.
She's been trapped by two tieflings.
Two tieflings have got her in a little cage.
And they're arguing about like what they need to do. Like, should they like run, get help? Should they try to kill her? They obviously know that
because they're afraid of the alien.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, they know that there's been this big crash landing and there's this weird alien. So it's bad vibes. They're also worried about goblins. They mention, the goblins could come. So I arrive and I just tell them, and Lae'zel telepathically orders me to free her. And I tell the tieflings, hey, how about you let her out and I'll take care of it. And Lae'zel initially thinks that I'm like planning on helping her, and it's just a ploy to like free her. And she gets out of the cage after they release her, and she tells me, either you're fighting with me or you die. And boy, that is a very strong telling me what to do in that moment. I was overwhelmed by someone telling me what to do, so I killed Lae'zel.
Oh my god.
Yeah, just slashed her up with my flaming greatsword. And then I stole her armor and put it on, and it looks dope. It's really shiny. It's got all these little rubies in it. It's strong, too. It's like got a one higher AC than like all the other medium armor. And I'm still able to use my +2 dexterity bonus to AC. So
I'm just projecting forward what's going to go on.
Yeah.
With Balthazar in this playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like his commitment to, what do we know that Balthazar hates? To be told what to do.
Mm-hmm.
He hates slavery.
He does.
We know that.
Mm-hmm.
He hates druids. We know that.
You know, what's wild is what happens when slaves tell Balthazar what to do.
Oh my god, what? I don't know. I don't know.
You know, we'll see. We'll find out.
Who's the other character? So I've got Lae'zel. I'll give you the heads up about what Ticklevar's got. Ticklevar's got in the party right here Shadowheart, Lae'zel, Astarion, and then immediately, hot foot all the way up the map because I know what I'm doing to get Karlach. And we don't have to talk about that here. I know that's like in a future episode. I'm just letting people know I'm not going to be mentioning Astarion for a little while because filled out the party with Karlach here, like at the very beginning.
Gotcha. So you've got sorcerer, cleric, fighter, and barbarian.
Yeah. So two swingies and a healy and a shooty.
It makes sense. I think it's one of those things where if you're doing a stealth. If you have any stealth person in your playthrough, it really changes the way you interact with the game and move around in environments.
Yeah, I just don't like it. It really makes the game very slow.
It 100% does.
And that's fine. I'm not critical of that play style, but that's not how I want to play the game. And I like I like sword and board. That's fun. I like sword and board with a wizard shooting over your shoulder. That's fantasy to me. So
yeah, and also with a barbarian and a fighter, you have potentially very different sets of equipment that do not necessarily eat into one another. They're not necessarily having to compete over the same gear.
I mean, we'll also talk about this going on. That's not a problem in this game, right?
There's so much stuff.
Yeah, it's the least stingy game ever made. And so at this point where I'm in Act 2 now in terms of my actual play, not the episodes we're doing. But yeah, I've got 5 different alternate weapons for everyone for whatever scenario we're going into. Sometimes if you're fighting a construct, you need everyone to have a hammer. Well, I got you covered, that kind of stuff. So it's just the game is so liberal with what it gives you and allows you to play with it. It kind of really doesn't matter. I did want to do a slightly different thing. But it just didn't work out. I'll talk about later on how that goes. But yeah, I'm rocking in terms of companions and companion quests I'm playing with and people that I'm following through the game. Just to tell people straight up here at the beginning, we're going to be doing the Karlach stuff, we're going to be doing the Lae'zel stuff, and we're going to be doing the Shadowheart stuff until the Shadowheart stuff is over, and then I'm going to move into a different character because you can do that. Shadowheart's quest is kind of over for the most part. 2/3 of the way through the game, and then in Baldur's Gate, which is the final third of the game, we can do some other stuff.
Yeah. You got a lot of options. You can switch through, and Balthazar will be doing Balthazar stuff.
Yes, that's it.
Mm-hmm, that's it. So we have completed the prologue. The party has been assembled, and in the next episode, we are heading to kind of the crux of the plot stuff. Mm-hmm. In kind of where does everything kick off? Where are we getting pushed towards? And kind of the act plot wise is going to revolve around the Emerald Grove. Are we going to be talking about druids next episode?
Yeah, they got word that we don't like them, and so they put them in the game. So we would have to talk about them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And in case you're concerned that we just talked about these companions by name and didn't get into the nitty gritty, we're going to talk about these characters as the thing goes on.
A lot.
Don't
We're gonna
you
talk
worry
about it for over 20 hours.
Yeah. So if Shadowheart is your favorite character and you're sad that I just said, oh yeah, I got Shadowheart and we moved on, I promise you we'll get there. However, we will not get there with Gale. So feel free to we'll never get there. We're not talking about Gale basically ever again.
Gale's hand makes a brief appearance in Act 3.
Oh no.
Yeah.
God. Wait, is it in your inventory?
It just stays in my inventory the whole time. Yeah.
Very good. So yeah, we'll get a little bit more. Asterian's chilling out in my camp. We'll get a little bit more granularity on all these characters later on, but that's who we're rocking with. All right, that's the end of episode 1 of Baldur's Gate 3. We'll be back in 2 weeks with the next episode. We're going to start talking about the Druid's Grove and a couple other things too. If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/rangedtouch. That's where we have access to a bunch of bonus episodes and other things for the other shows that we do. You can go to rangedtouch.com to see all the other shows that we got going on, like Just King Things, where Michael Lutz and I read through all the works of Stephen King in publication order. You can check out Shelved by Genre, where Michael and Austin Walker and I read genre literature. If you like this show, I bet you'll like that one. And we got a bunch of other stuff too. So go to rangedtouch.com. And if you want to support the show, patreon.com/rangedtouch. We don't buy any advertising. We only spread by word of mouth. If you like listening to Mages and Murder Dads, the only way people find out about Mages and Murder Dads is if you tell them. So if you enjoyed listening to this, go back to the previous episodes, enjoy those too, but tell people about it. Link it to people, email it to people, send it to them over social media, make a TikTok about it, do what all the kids are doing these days. Help us spread the word of the show, because the only way people learn about it is if you tell them.
That's right.
That's it. All right, we'll be back in 2 weeks with the next episode when we're talking about the Druid Grove.
Ciao.
Wise. So saith the wise among them.